Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Monochrome and MonochroMenace song. It is funny that we're hearing another one from this exact combo of people, but Senpapi wanted me to get to this one and gave me the background of why Neko Neighborhood exists. And the whole reason this album apparently exists is because the voice provider for Kaai Yuki wanted more Kaai Yuki songs focused on cats. So a bunch of people got together, made cat-themed music with this voice bank, which is just like the most wholesome but also dumbest reason anyone could probably do a collaboration, and I love it. So here we are, hearing what Schrödinger's cat has, and I've already had some experience with these two producers before, so I know roughly what to expect out of them, which is good stuff, and I suppose without further ado, let's go!
Roll that dice, pay that price. No one can control my life if I hide. Stay inside that divide.
This starts way too hard.
Roll that dice, pay that price. No one can control my life if I hide. Stay inside that divide.
I mean, we're here in that pop punk feel.
Fine, I'm fine with the way I decide to live my life. You buy that cliche, then I'm running out of time. Dying eyes astray is my hiding paradise. So please walk away, let me stay inside. Please don't proceed, don't follow me.
Ooh.
That was the second guess.
Ooh.
I've been discreet, I've been discreet. My head is such
It's a really good hook. Oh yeah. I love how heavy the guitar part is compared to like the rest of the instruments. The instrumental is pretty varied.
Fine, I'm fine with the way I decide to live my life. If it's too late, I'm already on the time. Fading into gray,
I just can't. I can't find a way that anyone would not like this. I'm sure there's people who wouldn't, but they're wrong. It's got great fundamentals.
How can I be strong when you treat my silence like a song? Stringing me along, I'm not worth more than an afterthought. How can I be strong? How can I be strong when you make me feel like I belong? Despite all my flaws, it was you opened up my heart.
Ooh, key change. There are a couple reasons that I really enjoy the sound of this one. And of course, we'll talk about those. But they're not complex reasons. They really aren't. Sometimes you just have a song that makes sense, and I think this is one of those. So I originally was not planning on whipping out the keyboard for this one, but the key change makes things a little bit more interesting. So to start off, I'll just go with the stuff that was initially interesting to me, the stuff that like really caught my ear, and I was like, oh, well, it's a good song, but also why did I say it's fairly simple, but that doesn't mean it's bad, it just means it's good in a simplistic way. It does all the things that you would anticipate a song of this genre to do. It follows a simple chord progression, kind of 4 chords standard, and it just rolls with that. It doesn't build into any unnecessary stuff. The concept of this song is not complex, and therefore the layout of it isn't either, but there are aspects of it, like I mentioned later on with the whole key change that we'll get to. There are functions of this that make it kind of cooler to talk about, but it really is just kind of simply put a pop punk song with a little bit more of that, like, J-pop sound to it for obvious reasons, right? It just has that flavor to it. It has that flair, and it's not doing anything super unique, but what makes it sound more unique is, to me at least, the vocals. Honestly, I think that the vocals for this one, because of the voice bank used, made this song sound so much more intriguing in the choices of phonemes and everything that were being used here. That's not something like they were choosing to use really weird phonemes, but the accent of the voice provider has kind of a specificity to it that makes it very unique. It just has an accent, frankly. And while every voice bank provider has their own unique accent that changes the quality of a song, what this does is change the feeling of this song a little bit more, and it makes it feel, again, a little bit more unique to what it could have had you had like Miku or Teto on it even. They have great voice banks, but there's just a quality to this one that feels so unique in and of itself that, just like many very underutilized voice banks, you just listen to it and you're like, man, there's something different going on here. It might not sound the best, you know, like it might not be the best, most thought out, most workshopped voice bank in the world, but that doesn't really matter when you're really getting down to the meat and potatoes of why a song feels good. So the chord progression of this one, like I mentioned, fairly simple, kind of 4 chordsy, is G flat, A flat, B flat minor, and F. That's kind of where we tend to stick for most of it. There is a D flat situation that happens in here. I think it kind of more like drops down into the lower end for some of the song, and that kind of just depends. But the core of that is what the song sits with, and that's all fine, good, and dandy. But then we have that key change that changes things up, obviously. And the way that this changes up is going from this D flat to the D right there, and that's now where we are. We obviously have the key change, so we have to adjust all the other chords. Because when we make that change from the D flat to the D, now we have to move everything around, and we get this as a new chord. This now becomes our kind of our new G flat in there in the chord progression. So we have this, what is now a C flat minor, which is the same as a B minor. So that's different, but again, we call it by the more common B minor all the time instead of calling it a C flat minor. It doesn't make much sense to call it the other unless you're working in extremely rare windows like this one, if you don't want to adjust the key and you want to keep things the way they are. So now we have this, and it goes up to the D, and now we have that coming back in. The chord that we shifted from the D flat to the D is still D. Wow, shocker there. And then we have G, and then we go to G flat minor, which is the same thing as a C sharp minor. So that's weird too, because again, this one is extremely rare. Calling this a G flat minor is all but unheard of, except for extremely niche theoretical situations. And it just, again, this is basically nothing you would ever need to worry about, but that's kind of what makes it so interesting to me, getting to talk about these varying titles and names. Because again, F sharp minor is what you would call this. That's it. That's all you would ever really need to call it, because that's all anyone ever used it as. Because if you're using a song in a key, you would write to that key. You would have the naturalized name of what that chord is, instead of having a bunch of like incidental double flats in here. And that's kind of what causes this, because this is a B double flat, and that's an A natural, but again, this is the weird quality. The same thing happens with that C flat minor being a B minor. You have to double flat one of those notes in order to make it that within B flat minor as a key. This is all music nerd shit. I'm sorry if you've been listening to me this whole time and you don't care, but this is the sort of stuff that makes my brain go burr, and I gotta talk about it, because again, this song is extremely simple, but because of that one key change, you could just adjust it to the D. That's all that it would technically be doing, and you could call these what they are, a B minor, a D, and an F sharp minor. But because we aren't theoretically doing that in this specific case, and we're just shifting everything in the song, you can still call them by these extremely rare names. And these enharmonic sort of titles are what made me kind of interested in learning music theory to begin with. When I realized that there are more than just one thing you can call any given chord. That's not a hard and fast rule. You can kind of still call them, even in those rare circumstances, people will just write them as the more commonplace name, because a lot of the time it's just easier to explain, or they'll straight up like write a key change in there, like they'll pencil it in and be like, now we're in the key of whatever else, you know? So they don't utilize these rare titles because double flats suck. Trying to read those and remember those when you're reading a piece of music and trying to play it live, especially if you're like in an orchestra, for example, those sorts of things would be a pain in the ass to keep track of for the conductor, let alone the individual musicians who are trying to keep track of all these other incidentals on the page. So just not having to worry about that and calling it what it normally would be makes a lot of sense. And most times, again, people just pencil in what that actual chord would be and they play it as such. It just makes sense. That's why enharmonics are so intriguing to me, because there are so many potential infinite options for what chords are allowed to be within very specific theoretical uses, much like a key change where you could call it something else. But this song is not one that I expected to be able to talk about that in, because of its simplicity, because it's just 4 chords and once in a while we go for that D flat. Woo, you know, it's not a hard song. This song is written to be pretty simple, and I'm sure that's because it had like a really quick turnaround time being part of this like larger project. They just wanted to make a song that sounded good, and the best way to do that and keep it simple while also creating a song that people can actually enjoy is by rocking together some basic chord progressions and just going with it. Write out some lyrics related to a cat, figure out a title later maybe, whatever the case may be. Maybe the concept of Schrödinger's cat came first, whatever the case may be. This is an intriguing song for all the reasons you didn't expect by the time you started watching this segment. So there's me yapping about music theory for, what, 10 minutes or whatever it's been, and I suppose that's where I'll end it. So thank you all so very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and you want me to get to something else, by all means, drop in the comments below and I will do my best as always to get to those. But if you don't want to do any of that, maybe just want to follow me and support me for more stuff coming in the future, you know how to do all that, and I'll see all of you in the next video. Goodbye!